What? Smoking all my dragons, divine, righteous, almighty, greats, overachieving, never slacking. We got Joe Rogan. This is Kids Are Dumber Today. Joe Rogan and Jon Haidt. I'm going to guess the D is silent. But original link in the description. Let's get to it. Let's see what they're talking about.
So when kids started bringing smartphones into school instead of flip phones, academic achievement actually went down. Kids are stupider today than they were 15 years ago. I mean, stupider meaning measuring their academic.
Well, that was my generation. I'll tell you that right now. We went through all the technology advancements. We here for it, from AOL, AIM, MySpace, Facebook. I mean, Twitter. I remember when all that just started and how crazy that was and how that just changed people's lives overnight.
Progress. After 50 years of improvement, it turns around after 2012. And this is true in the US and internationally. So there's just no reason why kids should have the phone on them. They should come in the morning, put it in a phone locker or a yonder pouch, go about their day. And guess what? The schools that have tried it, after a week or two, everyone loves it. The kids are like, oh, wow, we actually talk in between classes. We have 5 minutes in the hallway. We actually talk. And you hear laughter. Whereas right now in a lot of schools, it's just zombies looking at their phones in between as they're walking from class to class.
Yeah. So the assumption is that from 2012, kids are just much more distracted.
Oh, my God. I mean, look, Joe, I think I heard you say in one of, it was a conversation you had a few weeks ago with a comedian friend of yours. And I think this was a direct quote from you. My fucking phone runs my goddamn life. Does that sound like you?
Yeah, it sounds like me.
Okay. As adults, we have a fully formed prefrontal cortex. You and I had a normal childhood. Our brains developed. We have the ability to stay on task. And man, it is hard. With notifications coming in, there's always so many interesting things you could do instead of what you need to do. So it's hard enough for us as adults. Imagine if you didn't have a normal childhood where you developed executive function, where you developed that ability as a teenager, because puberty is when the prefrontal cortex, the front part of the brain, that's when it rewires into the adult configuration. So the fact that we're scrambling kids' attention at the time when they're supposed to be learning how to pay attention, I think is terrible.
Where do you think this is going? This is my concern, is that before they even get into that, John, he reminded me of a time where I actually always mention it when I was growing up. I used to go to camp, summer camp a lot for the summer, and I always mentioned how it was like the Parent Trap. That's the best thing I could do to describe it with Lindsay Lohan. And I remember when I went to camp, and there was one summer. This was going into middle school, so it was the summer where you're going into 6th grade. And none of us really knew each other except me and one other person because we had been in camp before in previous years. So long story short, only me and that person, his name was Zach, were friends. Nobody else really liked each other. 6 of us in the cabin. By the time it hit, I would say 2 weeks in. Let's put it like this. When it was time to go home, everybody was crying because we all became best friends. And it's crazy to think there was no cell phones or nothing. Like, no one was doing none of that. Even to contact your parents, you had to mail. You had to write a letter. And people got close. We was out in nature. Like, it was fun. At the end of summer camp, we would all do like all the different cabins, girl cabins, boy cabins. We would do like some type of obstacle course thing, competition where everybody versus each other. It was crazy. But it was fun. And then when it was time to leave, you just see these people crying. All these kids from all over the place that you never knew, they're crying because they were connecting. So this is life before cell phones. Crazy.
That this is just the beginning of this integration that we have with devices.
Yeah.
And that the social media model, and it's been immensely profitable.
Yes.
And
oh, my God, yes.
Incredibly addictive.
Yep.
And there's a massive amount of capital that's invested.
Let me say, obviously cell phones were around, but it was life before cell phones took over.
Keeping us locked into these things. Where do you think this goes from here? Have you paid attention to the technology?
Like AI?
Yeah.
Yes. So let me just draw a very, very sharp, bright line between adults and children. I'm very reluctant to tell adults what to do. If adults want to spend their time on an addictive substance or device or gambling, I'm reluctant to tell them that they can't. So when we're talking about adults, I think where this is going is, well, where it's gone so far is everything that you might want becomes available instantly and for free with no effort. And so in some ways that's a life of convenience, but in other ways it's messing us up and it's making us weaker. So, you want sexual satisfaction. Okay.
Reminds me of a quote. What's the quote? I think hard times make strong men, but easy times make weak men. That's what that remind me of.
Okay, here you go, free porn. And it gets better and better and more intense. You want a girlfriend or boyfriend who you can customize. You have that already. Advances in robotics are such that it's just a matter of time before AI girlfriends are put into these incredible female bodies that you can customize. So I think the adult world, for young adults especially, is going to get really, really messed up. And again, I'm not saying we need to ban it now. But what I'm saying is, for God's sakes, don't let this be 11-year-old children's lives. Let's at least keep children separate from all this craziness until their brains develop. And then they can jump into the whirlpool and the tornado. But the fact that our 11-year-old girls are now shopping at Sephora for anti-wrinkle cream or all sorts of expensive skin treatments, this is complete insanity.
Yeah.
So let's at least protect the kids until they're through puberty.
Well, that would be nice. That would be nice.
Kind of essential, I think.
It's just the way I see adults being so hooked on these things. There's so many adults that I know that are engrossed in this world of other people's opinions of everything they think and say.
That's right.
And it just doesn't give you enough time to develop your own thoughts and opinions on things.
That's right.
So many people are dependent upon other people's approval. And there's just so many people that are addicted to interacting with people online and not interacting with exceptional people in the real world.
Yeah, that's right.
That was very interesting. I get John's points for sure. I mean, it'll be very, very, very hard for someone who was born past, I'll say, like, past 2009 to really understand that, because they don't know what life really is like without a cell phone or certain technology. And they don't see young kids ain't gonna see all that for the most part, that health stuff, the frontal lobe or this or that. That's just not the reality they're gonna see. They didn't just taste the sugar, they already got addicted to it. And that's going to be would be very, very hard to break them away from that. It's like, for example, I'm not even going to say for example, I would say the best thing to do would be for those that have kids, raise our kids, raise the kids to not be indulged in that. Shout out to the kids in the country who are being raised on, homesteads or farms or ranches or whatever, and they're around nature, they're around lakes, and they're connecting with nature. That's what's important. They have to be taught that, because these schools and, they're not going to teach them certain things. People are going to look on TikTok and they're going to think, oh, this is what I should be doing, or I should aspire to dance like this or look like this and go and get the ranked age cream. And that's crazy. That's insane to me. That's insane. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it doesn't even take a rocket scientist to tell that definitely affects the development of a child, to be so indulged into that so early. Like when I brought up camp, if I would have never had those experiences, I feel like I wouldn't be able to dive deep emotionally as I do, and just creatively, if I didn't have the hands-on experience outside of a cell phone, right? Outside of just doing everything for me, right? Like, we getting on bikes, we're riding out all day, we're hiking, you sitting on your friend's handlebars, we doing all that. Like, growing up, everything was hands on. Everything was just about just spending time with each other without, looking down or having so much access to everything. It has its pros and it has its cons, but I understand what John's saying when he refers to being so early, being so indulged into that, it affecting the development. I definitely see that. I definitely do think it should be a certain age requirement before you jump into that ocean. Yeah, I agree, 100%. But with that being said, original link in the description. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want more videos like this, hit that like, that subscribe, that notification bell, and I'll be back with more soon. Much love, yeah.